name is Marquis Dotson. This podcast is going to be on distributing your work. In the beginning, it was hard for artists to gain support for their music because it wasn't a market for them to take it to. And to the invention of radio. The radio came along, it was easy for people to get their music into the markets that they wanted to. In 1934, the Federal Communications Commission was invented to regulate the emerging market, which they made it possible to evenly distribute the airwaves to get a variety of information to the public. This worked well until 1996, when the Federal Communications Committee changed the laws and made it able for big companies to buy out smaller stations to create monopolies. By creating these monopolies, it shrunk the market for artists. You have a lot of the same songs on all the radio stations, which is the problem now. The internet came a new market, which was electronic distribution. When you can electronically do the music and have good quality songs basically streamed through the internet, it allowed artists to get their music directly to any consumer they want to get their music to. They're able to get it to at that point. It allows you to bypass the bureaucracy at radio stations and allows you to reach your market and your fans. Thank you.
Distributing and marketing music. Distributing music is getting harder by the year. Back in the 80s and 1990s, it was just as simple as doing shows, marketing on the radio, and music videos so the fans could have a visual of the artist. The formula to make it in the industry now is based on footwork and self-distribution. Ever since websites like Napster, Kazaa, and LimeWire, selling records is a struggle, and more artists are dependent on distribution deals or just to continue as an indie artist. I have been in the music industry for 10 years and I've just learned about BMI and ASCAP licenses. These are the main distributors of music we enjoy today. This is how artists gain revenue from album sales, but you can only imagine how much money the main distributors get paid. In my generation, I purchased a CD every week, priced at $15 to $20. The artist might see $4 a unit. The rest goes to the distribution companies and the retailers that sold you the album. In the late 2000s, a wild era of mixtapes sold on trains and street corners seemed to generate more money than anything, and in my opinion, will never fade away. Indie artists usually use a system called Street Team, sending 10 or more CD peddlers in every region of their city with at least 100 plus units. Most artists use technology to the fullest ability using iTunes, SoundCloud, or social networks like Facebook and Twitter. I'm not saying artists aren't still going gold, but not as often as artists in the late 90s. As a matter of fact, gold was looked down upon. Over 10 artists were triple platinum from just album sales. Though the distribution side of the music sounds very difficult to understand for a novice in the music industry, I look at it like a grocery store. Your material has to be heartfelt to where your fans need your music in their collection. Make it worth buying.
Distributing Your Work by Ammon Malone. It's always a dream for an artist to have their work air over the radio. It is one way that helps advertise their work to people all over the world. When someone hears a great song over the air, what do? They buy the song. Since October 1982, people have been able to purchase an artist's song on a CD, also known as compact disc. As an artist, it was hard to get your music onto shelves in stores to sell. You either needed to know the store owner or be signed by a big label. To this day, you can still buy your favorite album in stores. If you are not signed by a big label and can't afford selling your own CDs as an independent artist, it was hard to be successful in the music industry. But in the late 1990s, that all changed for artists all over. Online distributing started, where people were able to buy music online in MP3 format. Any artist of any style or experience were able to sell their work. All you have to do is pay a certain fee, and these online distributing companies will sell your music. All you need to do is use different ways to advertise your music for people to know where to start buying it. Some of today's top distributing companies are iTunes, CD Baby, and Amazon. You don't need to go through big major labels anymore to get your music produced and sold in stores. With online distribution, music has changed forever, helping independent artists and even major labels everywhere.
Distributing your work. To distribute your work, well, what does that actually mean? To distribute means to give out, share, or disperse. Work can range from physical, mental, images, or sounds to make something. So to distribute your work means sharing it individually to a group or worldwide. There are various ways to distribute your work, and with the help of technology, it has become even easier and faster. How many of you remember this thing? Picture. Even though you could only store up to 2 megabytes or less, this was used a lot in the 80s and mid-90s. Then came the arrival of compact discs, or CDs. They can also be rewritten if blank to distribute sound recordings, movies, images, or files themselves. They were commonly used to distribute creative works, but they weren't the fastest way to share it. In the late 1990s, we were introduced to flash drives, which are able to store 1,000 times more data than floppy disks and can be recognized with any device that has a USB port. So not only can you store data, you can easily distribute your work or files selectively at your own convenience. Distributing your work is very important, and you want to make sure the right people get it before time, especially if you're a long distance away from the recipient. The quickest and easiest way to distribute your work is through email, but emails restrict you to the amount of megabytes you can send in a single email.
Hello, my name is Luis Garcia, but you can just call me Arturo. Here is my personal input on distributing your work. It is a bit changed from the rest, but I figured my group needed a different angle and added variety. Yes, of course, we all know the times have changed. Back then, you didn't listen to others saying you couldn't do it, even though all you had was your thoughts, plans, goals, ideas, and a little bit of luck. Say, for example, you wanted to be a well-known artist, but without the technology we have today, such as the internet that holds applications specifically for expansion, or even CDs that can hold many hours of organized music. Think of Jimi Hendrix, The Temptations, Tupac, Biggie. Imagine if they had YouTube. To them, it is a dream. It is magic. It would have saved bands and single artists many months of practice. Even then, most didn't even make it where they wanted to be. They had to do twice the work we do today and be twice as smart. Nowadays, we have things like SoundCloud, a website to input your own work where everyone else in the world is available to see. Even with just a laptop, you can be anyone you want to be in the music industry. As easy as the new era of technology has made it for us, you still have to put in the work as you did back then. Think about it. 70 million people are born each year. Add that to the 7 billion we already have. Guess how many people listen to music? 100% of those people. Guess how many people create that music? Less than 1%. Because of all the obstacles they are faced with. Can you work harder than the odds? Think about it.
Hello, this is Terrence Davis, and this is my Milestone 2 project. My group chose distributing works, and our theme was sports, which I'm using to represent the old traditional music industry and recording industry versus now. The main difference is actually distributing, which now the difference is that now more independent artists are licensing, producing, and having copyright over their own works. This all started with the rise of social networks though, like MySpace and Facebook. And it's now continuing to the new birth of social networks like Instagram, which allows you to post pictures and have control over it, and SoundCloud, which allows you to publish music. The main thing about the distributing revolution is back in the days, early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, where human art has flourished, is that in the past, companies would discover or not discover. Companies were necessary for artists to flourish. Nowadays, an artist needs their own skill and just the internet. They can show their works to people, even locally or even across the world. It just depends on how they do it. This is great for anybody because not everybody has the money to market themselves. But now you don't need the money because it's free. Good luck on making your millions. And